everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Real. I'm your host, Ysmaine, your broker. I'm Yvette and your real estate bestie here in Central PA. And here with me is Carlos with My City Lending. Carlos? How are you?
Hey, Nini, good, and you?
Good. Very excited for another episode. And today's episode, I feel like it's a very important one. I think every episode is important. But this one is really like it should be in place from the get-go. And it's the buyer mindset, especially in a market that is competitive like right now on spring, summertime. We want to make sure the buyers are ready to go with the correct mindset so they are not losing their minds. So that is going to be what we're going to be talking about. Hopefully we're going to be helping some people out there. And before we get into it, as usual, we're going to have our myth of the day. So Carlos, let us know what it is.
In a competitive market, you should wait for things to cool down before buying.
No, you should not be just doing that. And tell them why, Carlos.
So, like for example, like the spring market is usually a more competitive market, but you're also going to get the better quality properties around that time. And you're going to get, you're going to be able to get the best deal, the best for what you need. You know what I mean? Like, I think you're going to find the best thing for what you need. You're going to find it, in a competitive market. You just have to be prepared for it. And we are going to tell you today how to prepare and not freak out about it.
Yes. And I think the other really good, important fact to mention on the waiting portion is that time is money. And this also applies to real estate. The longer you wait, the more expensive the houses are going to get, because the tendency is that the house market is going to continue to go up, even if it's slowly, but still goes up. So if you wait for next year, because the interest rates might be going down slightly, the time that you're waiting could reflect on the price actually going up. So even if you do end up getting a lower rate, it's going to end up being a wash because the prices of the houses went up as well. So,
and the longer you rent, the more money you're throwing away anyways.
You're renting for longer, you're wasting money, and you're missing out on equity growth, which is what we keep bringing in every episode. And I'm going to continue to do that every time so it sticks to people's brains. You buy a house, you're building equity, you're building growth for your future. So if you wait, you're just wasting money. I don't even understand the math behind people's idea of like, I'm going to wait because rates are going to be better later, or the market's going to be better, or this is not the right time. I'm like, it's always the right time as soon as the right time for you.
Absolutely. And when rates get better, you're going to have more competition because the people that were holding out because of the rates are going to come back in and be like, okay, I'm ready to buy.
It's going to be even more competitive.
I'm okay to take off these golden handcuffs that I have with a 2% interest rate.
Exactly. So don't wait, guys. Don't wait. Waiting is not the way to go. If you are financially able to buy now, because you're going to gain so much more. And if the interest rates drop later, then that means you can refinance and get a better rate at that point, if your loan option favors that. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so that was good myth. And just another reminder, guys, we're going to have our Father's Day bingo coming up June 15th. We're so excited to be doing this event as a fundraiser for supporting the Central Pennsylvania Food Bank. So please come and join us. It's going to be a day of fun. It's not just bingo. It's actually live music. We're going to have the band Clockwork playing live songs after every game. And then we're going to have a dance party at the end. So please make sure.
Little samba, huh?
Little samba, yeah. I'm going to ask for them. I'm going to ask for a specific song. So please come and join us. We're going to be looking forward to seeing all of you there to support a great cause. And that's it. That's my spiel for that. Okay, so going back to our episode. Yeah, Carlos will be there helping us out with his own station.
No dancing for me, but I'm here to answer questions.
And dancing some samba, because I'm going to teach you, if you don't know yet. You have the salsa. I got some samba, so.
We'll
all right,
see.
so let's get into it.
Left feet, but all right.
there's no way you're Hispanic. There's no way you just have two left feet. You have to know how to dance a little bit.
Oh man, it's not pretty. I'm gonna warn you now.
I'm not saying it to be pretty. It just needs to move. Alrighty, so part one, guys, the right buyer mindset. So in a competitive market, you need to really think like a boss. And I'm not just saying that, like, homes are flying off the market, offers are coming in strong and fast, and emotions are all running high for all buyers. So we need to stay grounded. We need to stay focused, right? So here are a couple steps of how to stay on track. The number one is be decisive. Know what you want, know your must-haves on the property, and then differentiate those from the nice to haves. Like, you need to really be focused on the things that are a requirement for you as a buyer.
Like we said in the previous episode, this is not your dream home. This is just so you don't pay rent and throw it away.
Exactly.
What you need to survive, what you would do if you were renting. That's all you're buying your first time.
Maybe a little bit nicer than a rental, but still, like, you need to be
still, like, you don't have to have the perfect home. You know what I mean? As long as you're not renting, you're winning.
Exactly. You're building.
When you're not renting, you're winning.
Yes, when you're not renting, you're winning, because you're renting, you're paying 100% interest to someone else.
Exactly.
So just really, really be very focused on, hey, this is what I need to have. This would be nice to have, but this is what I need to have. And then focus on that to find the right home for you today, right now, based on your needs and also your financial position. And you also have to be able to make those decisions quickly and wisely, right? So if a property checks all the boxes of the must-haves, then that's a good home. Don't overthink it. We might not have time to think too much, because a property that you're seeing today most likely will have a deadline for tomorrow and it will be gone the day after. So if you're waiting to maybe see another house coming, or I'm going to see a couple more houses before I make a decision.
To market before I put an offer on this one.
Yeah, right. That's not going to stick on this market. Maybe winter time, maybe. And because even winter time was still pretty competitive within the last. It was
pretty competitive. I remember.
Yeah. So just make sure that you are ready for that sort of mindset of being decisive, knowing what you want, what you need. Really, that's what you need, that you need to focus on, and making decisions quickly. I know it's scary buying a house, so you shouldn't just be like, a spur of the moment, and that's not what we're asking you. But if the house is checking all the boxes of today's needs, that's the house we should be making a move on, right? So that's the being decisive portion.
Because it's only going to be your house for 1 to 3 years. It's not your forever home.
Yeah. And honestly, no home is going to be perfect regardless. Even the homes that are like much higher budget and whatnot, they're still not perfect. No house is ever perfect unless you're building from the ground up. And even then, you might still have a little things that you're not a fan about
Yep.
So just keep that in mind. The number 2 is be financially ready. And I'm going to let you talk on this one, Carlos.
Oh, thank you so much.
Talk away.
Yeah. So the first thing, is to be pre-approved, you know what I mean? And have a good pre-approval, not pre-qual like a lot of people are doing, they say, oh, hey, I'm pre-approved. And when you look at it, no, you're pre-qualified. They haven't looked at your documents. All they did was they didn't run underwriting, none of that. So you want to make sure, that you submit all the documentation so that your lender can make give you a real approval, based on real numbers, not just estimates, because like a lot of the time you get, you're doing a pre-screen, with a client, and the client says, oh yeah, my credit score is at 800, and my husband too. And it turns out between the both of them, they don't get to 800, so they're really not ready.
Yeah, people's idea of where they are and where they actually are can be very different sometimes. So that's why talking to you ahead of time, it's so important.
And sometimes they don't think that it's a big deal that, for example, that, I work 40 hours, but every once in a while, I really don't work 40 hours. I work 37. And then, last week they let me go because, the work was slow. So, I work 36, Well, then now you're not really a 40-hour, person, now you're really variable. And now we have to, average out your income, and
that changes things because it's going to vary your DTI, your debt to income ratio, and
a lot. Yep.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then, another big thing I was going to say is, have your funds ready, you know what I mean? And that means like have the money in the bank, not, oh yeah, I have $30,000. Okay. Yeah. It's under my bed because I don't trust banks. So, when I'm ready to buy, when I'm ready to buy, I will put it in the bank so that I can use it to close. Yeah. It doesn't quite work like that. So that's also part of the pre-approval is making sure that you have, your assets in place and all of that.
Yeah, this is not the time to just see what happens. I have some people that come to me sometimes and they say, oh, I can qualify. That's not a problem. Well, okay, I'm not saying that's going to be a problem for you. I'm not trying to offend anybody, but you need to have that. It's a checkbox that you need to have checked, right? Before you buy a home, you need to have a pre-approval. Some people, I can get a pre-approval after I find a home. In this market, no, that's not the way to go.
Yeah, I have dealt with people who are, this isn't their first home, you know what I mean? They're either moving up or moving down. And they lose out on properties because they say, oh yeah, the moment I find a home, I'm gonna get pre-approved. All right, great. So then, we have, different systems and stuff that we use, for example, like automated, things for verifications of employment. Mm-hmm. But even though you're a salary employee or you might not be salary employee or whatever it is, but if your employer doesn't pay for that, then when we pull that, you're not going to show up and we're going to need verifications of employment before we issue a pre-approval, So those are some things. And then, they might have to go digging for pay stubs to show year-end pay stubs so that we can use that while we get the verification, because if the year-end pay stub matches the W-2, then you can, adequately calculate the income. So people think, oh yeah, once I buy the house, I'm gonna go I'll be pre-approved right away. Sometimes it happens. There are people that it can happen for, and there are others that it just doesn't, and they lose out on the opportunity, and then they're kicking themselves for not doing it.
Yeah.
So don't be the kicker.
Yes. And I think we have a pretty good image to show what could potentially be happening when you're trying to go and find paperwork at last minute. You don't want to be looking like this, okay?
That's right.
You don't want to be losing your mind trying to, oh my gosh, I need to get this document. Oh my gosh, I need to approve here. Oh my gosh, I need to get verification of employment. Yes. That would be you. We don't want to be there.
Absolutely. Oh, wait, I have to drop the money in the bank? I can't put an offer on this house? Exactly.
So this is a really good description of what can happen if you're not financially ready. And by financially ready, yes, having all the ducks in a row, your pre-approval set up, verification of employment done, money that is actually in the bank for more than 2 months, all those things.
In order for when you pull credit, you're not scrambling.
Yeah.
You then have to play with your credit to get it up more so that you get more favorable terms.
Yeah.
All that stuff people don't take into consideration, but it's something that they should, because it just makes them better prepared, when they're in the right mindset.
Correct. So we want you guys to be looking more like this.
Yes.
This is what you guys should be looking like. Hey, I have my approval. I'm ready to go. Now I'm just ready to look at the houses. Like that's the right look for you.
That's the goal.
Not this. We don't want this to happen. That is a no-go.
Absolutely.
All right, so moving on, the third one that we think you guys definitely have to have is understand value. And do you want to chime into this one?
Yeah, I think that a lot of people think sometimes they're overpaying, or the house is higher than what they were anticipating. Yeah, and they have to understand
the competitive market, right? They're thinking like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to be competitive, offer more. Am I overpaying like that? I don't want to pay more than the house is worth, right?
And so I think you also have to understand that it's an investment. When you're buying a home, it's an investment. So you might not have what you expected, but with time, you're going to get more out of that house than what you're really putting in right now, if that makes any sense.
Exactly.
So, for example, some people say, okay, I'm going to go 5,000 or 10,000 over, right? But if other properties are going there also, well, then your value really is there. And as the neighborhood, let's say the neighborhood gets better, more companies move into the area. Well, now that area is more in high demand, so that's going to drive the value of your property and drive your equity a lot quicker than just time in the market or off the market.
Correct. I think I need to bring up two things on this one. The first one is the appraiser for that property will be taking into account the fact that there's like 10 people bidding in a home as part of the valuation process. So if 10 people are trying to buy that home and they are all offering $10,000 more, that means that house is worth $10,000 more than what it's listed for, because there's 10 people offering more. And they do take that into account when they are going to do an appraisal on a home. And that's why a lot of times a property may be listed for $250 and then get under contract for $275, and he actually appraises, because the appraiser is going to look at it and say, okay, there were 10 people bidding around the $275 range on this house. So if people are looking for it, that means it's worth it.
Absolutely. If people are willing to pay it, then it really is worth it. If it's just one person, then it doesn't necessarily make sense. But if you have 10 people overbidding, then
yeah,
that changes.
And then the second thing that to think about is unless you are intentionally removing the appraisal contingency or offering to pay with an appraisal gap, your appraisal is going to be in place, right? So even if you're offering $50,000 over, but you have an appraisal contingency, that is going to protect you as the buyer. So you could be offering whatever you want, but if the property appraises at X amount, you are only obligated on paper to buy the property at the X amount that the appraises at, because you have an appraisal contingency protecting you as a condition of your terms to buy. So people don't understand that, right? So unless you're specifically offering to pay a certain amount above appraisal value, which is something that you can definitely offer if you're willing to, then doesn't matter how much you offer on the property, you're only obligated to pay what appraises at. So that's another thing that people just don't understand sometimes.
Very true.
Yeah. That's good there. Well, let's get into the part 2 of our episode, which is common fears and how to overcome them. So we're just going to go over some very, very common questions coming from fear from buyers when we are in this competitive market, and we're going to answer them to the best we can, right? So you guys can have an idea and stop having those fears. So fear number 1, what if I overpay? Kind of went over that, but do you want to add anything to that too, Carlos?
I mean, I think pretty much what we said on just 2 seconds ago.
I know, right?
Cover that. I would just reiterate again that specifically, like when you're paying a little bit more than what the list price is, and you see that there are companies that are bidding to come into your area, then you're really not overpaying, because that area is really it's going to increase in value and it's going to have a higher demand. So your property value is going up. So you're really not overpaying. You're either buying the market or you're getting in early, and then you can have a really nice cushion in 1 to 2 years.
Yeah. And I think the reframing of mindset for this is really like thinking long term, right? Even if for today, let's say you offer appraisal gap, let's say you went $10,000 over, you are buying long term. That home is going to be yours for a few years to come. If that is the case, why bother what the price of that home or the value of that home is today if you're going to keep that home for 5 years? Because if you overpay today $5,000 more, in 5 years, that's going to be used up already, but at least you're building equity for yourself instead of waiting, because you didn't get a home because you didn't want to overbid. but now you're paying another whole year of rental, which honestly is going to be probably more than what you'll be paying on a house. So,
and regardless, you're putting money in that piggy bank. So even if you overpaid, so to speak, then you still have, first of all, you're going to get that $5,000 back, but you're putting money into the house every month as you're paying your mortgage. So you're going to build your equity regardless. And that way, when you're ready to go for the next home, you can use either equity, you can rent that and turn that into an investment and go into the next one. And you can keep that home for 30 years, let the tenant pay for it. So even if you overpay now, it doesn't matter because your tenant's the one that's going to keep paying it for you.
Yes. Yeah. And if you're working with a very skilled agent too, you got to think that they might be able to help you determine what the value of your home could be 5 years from now. Maybe your home will only be there for 5 years. We can determine what that's going to be, if you're going to have enough equity to cover whatever your plans are at that point. But also we can even determine like what's the after repair value if you're planning to do repairs to that property, because maybe you're going to repair that property and in a year you can more than double your investment depending on what's being done. So it comes down to what strategy you're doing, how long you're holding the property for, and then working with your realtor and your lender, you can come up with a nice strategy to make sure that you understand the value and understand that you're not overpaying because you're not just investing as of today, you're investing long term. So I think that's the reframing of mindset when people say, what if I overpay? You're not, unless you're really going crazy and saying, hey, I'm going to pay $50,000 cash above value, then you're going cuckoos. Then there's nothing I can do for you.
Yeah, I saw people that were paying $100,000 over asking, during 2020, 2021 when things were crazy. I remember that.
Actually, if they bought it in 2020, they might have gotten that money's worth back. But if you're doing that today, I don't know if you would. So
no.
Again, it's all about understanding the marketing, working with a skilled agent. So you understand, is it worth doing that today? Maybe not today, but in 2020, it did pay out. Like the properties when actually some properties doubled in value. So
absolutely, because of the demand, because so many people were migrating from New York, for example, to Pennsylvania. That was a very big push, for prices.
California too. I had a lot of California clients, New York clients, New Jersey clients, because taxes are ridiculous over there. So they were all coming to Pennsylvania, not just to buy home here to live, but also to invest, because Pennsylvania market is amazing when you're looking for an ROI, return on investment. That's the best market to be in if you want to buy to rent. So
absolutely.
Tons of people investing here. Alrighty, fear number 2. What if I make the wrong decision? So just keep in mind, you're not doing this alone, right? Even if you are buying as a buyer, you are alone. You have no family participating into it. You have no, family and friends coming over with you. Even then, you're not alone. You're going to have me always as your realtor, or you should have a realtor, right? Or you're going to have, and you're also going to have your lender. And if you're working with Carlos, you're going to have Carlos. So you're not doing this alone. You're going to have expert guidance by your side, making sure you're making the right decisions, making the right choices for you at that time for that investment, right? So because every single one is going to be different, and every single client might have a different strategy. So he's going to have a different experience, but that's why we're going to be there guiding you. So you're not alone. Don't fear of like, oh, I want to buy a house, but I'm afraid because I'm alone and I don't know what to do. And what if I make something wrong? If that's your fear, forget about it. You have expert guidance by your side.
And even if you're alone, so to speak, and let's say you need to do some repairs on the house after you buy them, like your team, like Dini and I, we'll have people that we can recommend to you. If you need a handyman, if you need a contractor, like we work with all these people, so we can make those people available to you as well.
Yes. Yeah. And I think the strategy, to minimize this fear of like making the wrong decision is really focusing again on your must-haves, like your non-negotiables. Have clarity on what you need and what you're looking for, because then you will feel more comfortable and confident yourself that the decision you're making is the right one for you, right? Because we can support and guide you as much as we can in one, but for you to feel comfortable, you just have to have a very much so a lot of clarity on your must-haves, because then you feel confident making the decision to move forward with a property or not.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Fear number 3. What if I lose the house I love?
That might have happened because you were not prepared, because you thought you could get pre-approved right away, and you realized that it's going to take just a few more hours or another day or two, but hey, it's best and final by this, and you're just not ready.
Yeah.
And that's sometimes it's a learning lesson that people, they need to learn, unfortunately. But
Yes.
then the other thing is, and I don't know, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong,
Mm-hmm.
but people say, oh my God, Carlos, this is the house that I love. And then they lose it, and then they're all down, and oh man, I'm never going to find anything like that. And then like 3 days, something else comes on the market, and they're like, oh my God, this one is so much better.
Look, I live and breathe this, and I always say, when the house is meant to be yours, it's going to be yours, and that is always the case. I have yet to have a client that bought a house that wasn't the one for them, right? Yep. So it's funny how it works. Sometimes they miss out on a property. They were like, oh my gosh, I love this property, and then they find one that they love even more, and there were better, check boxes checked for them. So.
It's like it wasn't necessarily their case that they lost the house, but like our mutual client who went to see a house that was terrible, and then they're like, all right, well, what else is around here? And then they saw that one, and then they went under contract. So they had no idea that house even existed, and they were in love with the other one because they wanted to go see it. So,
yes. And it's funny because it was not even a house that they were looking to look, right? Because it was a different layout on the outside. So they kind of just like, oh, pass. Yeah. And then we end up checking it out, and that was the one. So, I mean, you never know how the story is going to play out. But in the end, I mean, it's always, to be honest, 10 times out of 10, the client will end up with the house that was meant to be theirs. And that's just what it is. But going back to overcoming your fear, to minimize, the chances of you actually losing out on something that you like, just be prepared, do the things that we talked about, be financially ready, be decisive, know your must-haves, have your ducks in a row lined up with pre-approval, documentation, verification of employment, your funds, because that's going to put you in the best position to make an offer quickly and make a decision quickly if that's the house you love. And then you're not going to even need to have this fear, because you're going to be so prepared that we can make a heck of an offer and get you in the house you like. So
absolutely.
It all comes down to, getting ready and mentally and knowing what you want and getting your finances in place. That's really what comes down to.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree.
Year number 4. I don't know what I'm doing. Well, that's first-time home buyers. Nobody does. Nobody does what they're doing, and that's why we're here. We're your team.
Absolutely. I was gonna say, so like sometimes, I talk to somebody, and I go through my pre-screen and say, hey, listen, I'm just gonna get a better idea of your situation. I'm gonna ask you some questions, and then after I'm done, if you want to ask me questions, then you can ask me. And they tell me everything, and they're like, yeah, I know, I'm not ready, right? Like I have to wait. And I'm like, no, like, you guys are ready to go right now. Like, you guys are good. And they're like, what? I can buy a house? I don't have 20% to put down. I don't have a 740 credit score.
Oh my goodness. So, common misconceptions, the common myths.
Absolutely. So that's one of the things. Like, don't worry if you don't know what you're doing. We're gonna guide you through it. And we will guide you on the buying side of things, the house and all that stuff. And I'll guide you with the financing, as far as maybe tweaking your credit a little bit to get more favorable terms for you. If you're not quite ready, we'll put you on the path to be ready. We have a client that we talked to maybe 2 or 3 days ago, and she didn't think she was going to be ready till next year. And turns out she only needs 45 days and she'll be ready to go.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. Just because you don't know what you're doing, don't worry. You have a team that's going to help you and get you there.
Yeah. And it is one more reason why you should reach out to us as soon as possible. Don't wait for you to know what you're doing or even have an idea of what you're doing. Just come talk to us, because then we can really surround you, educate you, and better prepare you to be ready to get started. and you might be ready much sooner than you think, like Carlos said, right? Every situation is different. Don't just base your going to be experienced with someone that you just, like your cousin that bought a house and they needed to put 20% down, so you're gonna have to too. No, everybody's experience and situation is going to be different based on their own story, numbers, credit, job. Everything is so different.
Yeah, and not only that, like the timing, you know what I mean? Some people have bought a house, before 2020, and they're trying to guide somebody that's buying now. And it's like,
I have that right
now. When did you buy your house? Oh, 2006. Oh, yeah. Well, I didn't need to show all that documentation. No kidding. That's why 2008 happened.
I think my favorite and worst nightmares are parents. When I have a millennial coming in and buying a house, and they're like, oh, my mom and my dad are coming with me to help me. I'm like, oh, great, because I want them to have support, but at the same time in the back of my mind, oh no. Because yes, they may have bought a house before, maybe it was 20 years ago, or maybe it was like right before COVID, but even then it's still a different market, right? So they have an outdated idea of what it is to buy real estate as of now. And I say now because honestly, next year could be different yet, and we're going to be in a very different ballpark game of how real estate works. So yeah, I love it.
I had one like that. I think I closed like maybe 2 or 3 months ago now, where she was a professional and she made very good money. They bought a decent home, and I had to talk to her mom before. I had to talk to the mom, explain everything to the mom. Like I would talk to the client, and the client would be like, okay, well, let me talk to my mom. I'm like, no, you're gonna know how to explain it.
Let me talk to you.
I'm gonna call your mom, and then after that first time, I was like, all right, I just wanted you to understand what I'm gonna explain to your mom now. The mom signed off, and it took her like a year to buy because she was pretty picky and she liked to travel a lot and stuff. But eventually, we got it done.
That's good. I had to mute myself because someone was making noise. But yes, family involvement, it can be great, but it also can be challenging, mainly because of the education piece and understanding of the market, for sure.
Yep.
So that's it for Fear 4. And then we're getting into part 3 and towards the end of this episode, which is what buyers can do right now. And I think we already said this, and we're going to say it again. Get that pre-approval letter from Carlos.
Yes.
Now.
Yes.
Talk to Carlos now, because the earlier you start, the better it's going to be to prepare you at least. If you're not ready right now, doesn't matter. Like, talk to him so at least you can understand what needs to be done and what needs to happen.
Yep.
You want to add to that?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, get on a path if you're not ready yet, so that you can be ready as soon as possible, because the more you rent, the more money you throw away.
Love that. Leave it at that. That's perfect. That's exactly it. Yeah. And then, like I said, be decisive, right? The part of being decisive, make sure you know what your must-haves are. Don't just be like, looking for curiosity. Be aware of what your needs are and what those must-haves must be, the non-negotiables. Your deal breakers, like if this house doesn't have this, I'm not going to buy it. So determine what that is, because again, there's no perfect home, and it's not going to be your dream home if it's your first home, and that's just what it is. But it could be a very dreamy home with all your must-haves and even some nice-to-haves.
Some wants.
Some wants, yeah.
All your needs and some wants.
All your needs and some nice-to-haves. But yes, just have that very cleared. And honestly, in this market and any time of the year, to be honest, because it's been competitive for the last 5 years, since COVID happened, the market has been competitive as a whole. Just be mentally prepared to hear a no. Maybe your first offer on a property is not going to go through. And honestly, on average right now, I'm writing about 3 offers per client. So, getting the mindset that might be the case. Don't be thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to go out there, look at homes like HDTV, look at 3 homes, choose one, and that's it. I'm done. That's not HDTV for sure. That's not real life, especially in this market. Be ready to receive a couple no's before you get the right.
Yeah, I would say don't get discouraged. And going back to what Nini said, the home for you is out there, and when you find it, you're just gonna get it.
And you're gonna know it's yours.
You're gonna know it's yours.
Yeah. God knows best. When it's meant to be yours, it will be yours. And that's always the case. I think I've been doing this for 8 years and I have yet to see that not happen. So just know. Don't lose your faith. I want to share just a quick story now that we're getting towards the end. I had a client that was out there looking for homes when the market was the busiest yet, which was 2021. And we were out constantly looking at homes because they needed a home. And we wrote 16 offers. I think that's my record breaker, right? Of how many offers for one client I wrote. We wrote 16 offers, and on the 17th, they got it. And the house they got it was better than any other house they saw. And for some reason, they love it. And they saw 16 others that they also loved it, but that one happened to be the perfect one.
And also sometimes I would say I've seen this happen a lot where somebody gets discouraged because the house they want comes off the market and goes under agreement, and then something happens. The buyers can't buy whatever. House comes back in the market, and then they end up buying it either way. You know what I mean? They end up buying the house they wanted at the end. They saw a few more homes. House came back on the market, and they're like, all right, boom, let's get it.
Yes. That is true. It happens quite more often than not, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. Well, guys, if you found this helpful, please make sure to subscribe. Also, leave comments. Let us know if you want us to talk about something specific. We are definitely always looking for ideas. And if you have specific questions you want it to be answered live, just let us know. We'll be happy to do that. We're always looking for new content. So we want to be bringing educational and, valuable knowledge for you guys. So feel free to share anything you want to hear. And like Carlos say,
like, share, and follow for more.
Yes. Until next time, and keep dreaming big and buying smart. I'll see you guys next episode.
See you guys.